All right, good morning, guys. I'm sorry I'm not here today, but I still want you to get your work done. So I'm leaving this little science lesson video for you. So we're starting on page 131. What are behavioral adaptations? We've talked about adaptation before and how they help animals survive. But as always, first we do our vocabulary. Make that a little bit smaller. So you have 5 lines, which means you have 5 vocabulary words. One is behavior. Next one is instinct. Next one is learned behavior. O-R. And then the other two are, so let me get this up here a little bit better. Migrate and hibernate. Okay, so once you have these words written, you can go to the next page and I'll read it to you. If you need to pause the video, you can, but I need to move on. But that's the magic of pause. So first thing we're going to do is read the page 132, know it or learn it. Eating or sleeping, finding shelter, and moving from place to place. How do animals know what to do? A behavior is anything that an organism does. So you need to highlight or underline this section right here. A behavior is anything that an organism does. Next, learned behavior. What? Pause. All right, I don't know if that paused it, but we'll hope it did. All right, so learned behaviors are behaviors that come from watching other animals or through experience. So learned behaviors, you watching something, find somebody else doing it. Next, young animals learn how to behave by watching and copying adults. There are other behaviors. An instinct is a behavior that an animal knows how to do without learning it. Animals are both born with behaviors are adaptations that may help animals survive in the environment. So right here it says a mother lion teaches her cub to hunt. Searching for food is an instinct. Knowing how to find and catch food is something cubs learn by copying their parents. A mother sea turtle buries her eggs in the sand. Most young sea turtles hatch at night. Their instinct is to go towards the brightest area. This instinct helps the hatchlings find the ocean, because usually the moonlight's reflecting off the ocean, so that's where they go. Next page. A chimpanzee isn't born knowing how to use a tool. It learns this behavior by watching others. Sometimes a chimp may figure out it on its own. So you're not learning. You come out the womb as a baby like, I know how to use a hammer. You either watch people or you can figure it out on your own, but not when you're a baby. It's an instinct for some birds to sing, but sometimes the songs they sing are learned from other birds. A spider web helps it survive. The web is sticky, so it traps insects. But how does a spider know how to spin a web? This is an instinctive behavior. It is born knowing how to do this. A moth's instinct is to use moonlight to find its way. That's why moths are attracted to porch lights. So how are instincts and learned behaviors alike? Well, what is an instinct? Remember, an instinct was a behavior the animal knows without learning it. Okay? So an instinct is something that they learn already, and behaviors are learned behaviors are learned from somebody else. So they are alike because both help them survive. That's all you need to write right there. Instincts and learned behaviors are alike because they both help the animal survive. I mean, it's as simple as you can put it. Because they could be technically adaptations over time. Next thing is finding food. Again, if you need to pause it or rewind it, go ahead, work at your own pace. Finding food. Hungry, cold, wet. That's what animals would be without the instinct to find food or shelter. Every animal looks for food when it's hungry. It's an instinctual behavior, but actually finding food can be a learned behavior. Some animals learn from watching their parents or other adults, but some animals can learn themselves too. Bears come from the stream to catch salmon. The bears wait for the fish to swim upstream. This is a learned behavior. So right here, this is 1, 2, 3. How did this archer fish know how to get food from above the water? The fish instinctively shoots water at insects in the air to catch them. So that's how they eat. So it's instinctive. When they're born, they're going to hit the insects and eat them. These birds learn to build nests on buildings when trees were cut down. A gopher uses what it has, soil and claws, to make shelter in the ground. Right here, ants work together to make an ant hill. They use the soil around them. The hill hides the tunnel system that provides shelter and storage space for food. So how does building an anthill help the group of ants? Well, it tells you right here how it helps them. So I'll type you right here. It says it helps them by providing shelter and a place to store their food. Okay, so that's the answer for page 135. Make sure you write this down. Again, if this is going too fast, pause it, rewind it, okay, because I'm not slowing down. Next, hibernation. When the weather turns cold, it's time for many animals to slow down. Animals respond to cold winter weather in different ways. Some animals stay active during the winter. They find food or eat food they have hidden. Other animals hibernate, underline this, or go into a deep sleep-like state that helps them survive the cold winter conditions. Okay, so hibernation is very important. This is how they survive the winter. Normal body activities slow down, the heart beats slowly, and breathing almost stops. Hibernating is an instinctive behavior. A hibernating animal does not use much energy because the body is barely working. There's enough fat stored in the animal's body to keep it alive through the winter. This ground squirrel spent the fall eating and gaining weight. It stored up enough energy to survive winter hibernation. A squirrel's heart rate and breathing have become slower. Many bats, like this one, hibernate in the winter. In the spring, when the weather warms up, there is more food for the bat, and it will come out of hibernation. These snakes are all hibernating together. When spring arrives, they will leave this den. So when it's wintertime, snakes get together, try to keep warm because they're cold-blooded creatures. So they need a lot of heat. Which animals hibernate? Many animals that eat insects hibernate. These animals include bats, hedgehogs, and hamsters. Insects such as ladybugs and bees also hibernate. So do lizards, snakes, turtles, skunks, badgers, and many more animals. So it says, look at the data. How does each animal's heart rate change during hibernation? So it said a non-hibernation bat beats 450 beats per minute. But when it hibernates, it only beats 40 times per minute. A woodchuck, when it's out of hibernation, is 160 beats per minute. When it is in hibernation, it's 4 beats per minute. So what we need to do is simply just work it out what it is. I'm giving you the answer. Just pay attention. This is simple subtraction answer. If I can find my pen I just had. Oh, in my pocket. All right. So a bat will be the first one. B-A-T. So it goes from 450 to 40 beats per minute. Its heart rate. So that is a difference of 410 beats per minute. So that's incredible. Its heart slows down almost 10 times its normal rate. And the woodchuck, I'm just going to put chuck. This needs cowboy rating. It usually beats 160 times per minute, but when it hibernates, it only beats 4 times per minute. And that's a difference of 156 beats. That is insane. Make sure you have this written down, because when I come back on Friday, I'm checking your book for a grade. But this is just a crazy amount how much their heart rate slows down, because this is what gets the blood pumping in their body is their heart. So if it's pumping slower, there's less blood flow throughout the body. And migration. Some animals are travelers. Some whales make a yearly trip from someplace cold to someplace warm and back. Animals, highlight this, migrate when they move a long distance as a group from one region to another and back. Whales swim to a warm place to mate. They swim to a different spot to give birth. Then they swim back to where they were to find food. Many animals, include birds and fish, migrate. Whales and some other animals teach their young the way to go. The path that animals take is learned, but knowing when to migrate is an instinct. So they learned where to go, but they know they need to go somewhere as an instinct. Gray whales have one of the longest migration routes of any mammal. They travel up to 21,000 kilometers each year. Gray whales swim from the cold Arctic to the warm Mexico to have their young. In the winter, when the land freezes over in the Arctic tundra, swans fly over to the warmer south. When the weather warms up, the swans return to the Arctic. There they mate and wait for their eggs to hatch. So right here, migration routes of gray whales and tundra swans. So here's their route right here. Some animals use the sun and stars to find their way. That's an instinct. Some animals learn migration routes from other animals. Okay, so this would be a nice little bar graph. Many animals migrate. The gray whale travel over 10,000 kilometers each way as it migrates. The tundra swan may travel over 3,000 kilometers each way as it migrates. Draw a bar graph to compare the distance. So we're comparing the tundra swan and the gray whale. So just make this a little shorter on you. I'm just going to shorten it so you don't have to write the whole name. So the first animal it discussed is the gray whale. So let's do, put a pin. So do GW. The other one's the tundra swan. So it says that the gray whale could travel over 10,000 kilometers. Well, if we're splitting this bar graph, the gray whale goes all the way to the top, 10,000 kilometers. And that's just one way. That's not counting the way it has to travel to get back home. And then the tundra swan travels over 3,000 kilometers each way. So 3,000 is right here. So this is how much the tundra swan travels. There's a 7,000 kilometer difference between the two. So all you had to do there was show me the bar graph you have shaded, and I'll literally do it for you. So you need to pause to see where the line stops. You can pause it. But again, I have to move on. All right, so this one, pretty easy. Why? Because the answers are on the bottom. Just copy that on the bottom. This next one, I want you to do and turn in page 141 and 146. I want you to work on your own as this, but I will give you I would say the hardest one to do, which is the first one. So it asks you 4 cross behaviors are blank that help organisms survive. So what are behaviors that help animals survive? So which one could it be? We literally went over all this before. Behaviors are what helps animals survive. Adaptations. Oh, let me change that color. They are adaptations. ADAPTATIONS. Okay, so they're adaptations. And y'all should be able to get the rest on your own. I want page 141 and 142 done. When you finish that, you can study your spelling words or vocabulary on Quizlet. And then that's it. I will see you on Friday, guys. Have a good day.